All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Running with Wolves. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about something today. I got a lot of comments on our last episode, or one of our more recent episodes that we did, that was basically like the mindset of scaling to a seven-figure business. And I got a lot of questions actually around breaking past like the 10K a month mark and just kind of this sticking point, because I've had a lot of people in like the last month kind of saying that they feel like they've accomplished getting to that point, but they're getting really stuck with how to scale past that on the strategy and the mindset side. So we've kind of broken it up into two episodes. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the mindset of investing in your business. We're going to talk about scaling your business past 10K months and kind of everything that comes with that, because we've definitely gotten like a lot of questions around that. So I'm excited to kind of break that down today, because I do think that getting to the 10K a month mark and scaling past that is actually way harder than scaling to like a seven, 8-figure business, because I always think of it like there's two phases to your business. Well, there's a lot of different phases, but the main phase is like building the foundations and then scaling past those foundations. But the really cool part about scaling is that once you've built those foundations, like they're not going anywhere, and it becomes really easy to scale because you're not in this like insane building phase. But getting to 10K months and getting past 10K months, you are laying those foundations. You are building the foundations of your business: marketing, sales, systems, processes, team, literally everything. And so it can feel really, really difficult and a little scary, I would say. So I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like. Also, in case you see, I don't know that you will see this in the recording, but I'm in my gray sweatpants today. I'm in my comfies. I've got a cute little sweater on, but it's like almost Christmas break when I'm recording this. And so I was like, you know what? I want to feel cozy. So that's what we're doing. So here's the thing I want you guys to remember is that, in my opinion, in this like online space, there's a lot of people who are like, oh my God, I'm making 10K months. It's really easy to fuck around and make $10,000 a month on the internet. If you have online sales, whether it's a service or product-based business, it's actually really easy to do that without a strategy. Because a lot of times, if you can create some volume consistently, which it's really easy to do that with TikTok now, you can make 10K months effortlessly. But the common denominator for so many businesses that I have seen, which is the reason why most people get stuck at 10K months, is because they did not have a strategy, and they were just going and going and going and going and working really hard and hustling. And so because they want to scale past that, they don't have a strategy to actually make that happen, which then makes scaling past 10K months feel literally almost impossible. So I want to kind of talk about the early stages of my business and how I really scaled past 10K months, because this was honestly kind of similar for me. I realized I didn't really have like a marketing strategy, a sales strategy. I didn't really have a production plan. I didn't really have a product suite. I didn't have a team. Like, there was so much that I was just like winging when I was working my way up to 10K months. And there were so many times where I would scale past 10K months and get burnt out, or get it to the point where like I couldn't handle the level of performance that I needed to handle in order to actually scale past 10K months sustainably. Because I think that there's also a massive difference between scaling past 10K months and doing it in a way that's super sustainable. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how I kind of broke past that 10K per month sticking point. So when I first started my business, I don't know how many of you know this, but like I've kind of talked a little bit about my origin story. So when I first started my business, it was at the very beginning of COVID, right? My marketing agency I was working for at the time had basically slashed hours because they didn't want to do layoffs. So they were basically making people who were working full-time, part-time, and with the promise of hopefully bumping those hours back up once things kind of ticked back up. So I was working part-time, really was not making a lot of money. So I was like, you know what, why don't I just do like freelance digital marketing and just kind of see if I can get a couple clients just to like sustain myself, get a little bit more cash coming in the door until my hours pick back up again. And at that time, the joke is always like, it was unprecedented times, which is very true. No one really knew what was going to happen next. And so it was like, let's just get through this and I'll figure it out on the other side. When I first started my business, within the first month, I got 10 clients pretty quickly. The reason being is because, number one, I really needed clients. I needed money. So I was constantly messaging people, having sales conversations. Like, I was going crazy. It was like, I would literally be up until 1 a.m. just messaging people, like cold pitching people. And now, again, do I recommend doing that? No, because the amount of messages that I had to send in order to just get 10 clients was crazy. but I also really lowly priced my services. So I had 10 clients and I was making $10,000 because I was giving them full social media management, full digital marketing for like $1,000 a month. Because at the time I had no concept of what people charged for that. And on top of that, I was like, shit, $1,000 a month, that's incredible. And if I can get 10 of those clients, I'm making 10K per month. The one thing I will say is that there were two mistakes that I made. Number one was that I didn't lock them in for an extended contract. I did not know, obviously, what would happen. I didn't know how long I was going to be doing this for. So I was like, you know what, I'll just do like month to month, because people were like, well, how long are your contracts for? I'm like, fuck if I know, right? I'm like, I'm just getting started with this. So I was like, oh, well, we could just do month to month, right? But the problem with that is I didn't know anything about contracts. I didn't consult an attorney. I literally downloaded like a contract template PDF off of Google. I was like, this looks fine. It's fine. And it really didn't have like any sort of termination clause. So the really hard part about that is that my clients didn't have to give me like any warning that they were ending the contract. It was the 30 days that were up. And a lot of them were with me for like 2-3 months. And at that point, because I was making so much money, I was like, you know what, maybe I'm just going to use this as like a jumping off point and start my own business, which is exactly what I did. And after a month of working with those 10 clients, I left my corporate position because I was like, shit, I'm making more money. I was also working like two part-time jobs basically. And then it kind of turned full-time when I had 10 digital marketing clients. So I was working a ton and I was like, I can't keep this up. So one of them needs to drop, and it's not going to be the one that is uncertain about keeping me or not. So the hard part about that is I'd been working with these clients for like 3 months. They were super happy. And then like a bunch of different stuff happened with COVID, and they were like, okay, we got to pull more of our marketing budget. Like we can't afford to keep doing this. I'm sorry. We got to just kind of cut our losses kind of thing. Right. So I definitely regret not locking them into a longer term contract, because it would have created a little bit more safety for me. And then I also regret charging like such a low price point for my services. Obviously, again, I didn't know any better. However, I think that if I had even charged $2,000 a month, I could have had 5 clients instead of 10 clients and made the same amount of money, but worked half the amount of time. And so that was like a little bit unsustainable when it came to 10K months. But again, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so those are like kind of the two things that I would probably have done very differently. In order to make it be a little bit more sustainable. And I will say that during that time, the amount of time that I was working was like insane. There was a point at which I was working like 14-hour days, and I was like, there's no way that I can sustain this. Funnily enough, like later in my business, I was also for like a whole year last year working 14-hour days. And I was like, well, what goes around comes around, right? Guess there's always phases of that in your business as a business owner, and you kind of just have to accept that, but it is what it is. So I realized I obviously couldn't continue like that. And I recognized, I was like, I don't know what I don't know. So my way of like making more money, quote unquote, was going to be, well, I bring on more clients. I'm like, but I don't have more time. So if I want to make more money, I need more time, but I don't know how to get more time. And if I don't have more time, I don't know how to make more money. So I essentially was like, I'm kind of stuck with my level of knowledge and understanding at this point. And if I don't get somebody else's knowledge, I'm just going to stay stuck in this place consistently. So my biggest thing, and I've always been taught this from a very young age, was the advantage of having somebody in your corner who has created really a life that you want to create, that you can pick their brain, get their perspective, like a mentor of sorts. So I started to kind of look for a business coach. And I was like, you know what? I'm making $10,000 a month. I can afford my rent. I'm putting a bunch of money away towards savings. Like I can afford an investment like this. So I finally found somebody. Demi is absolutely incredible. She was the first business coach I ever invested in. Shout out Demi. Love you. If any of you guys are looking for a business coach, she's just 10 out of 10. So I made an investment in her, and I shit you not, I think it was maybe, I don't know if it was like a week later, I don't know if it was a few days later, I lost half of my clients overnight. And I think that the investment to work with her, because I went all in, like I did one-to-one coaching basically. I think it was like $3K a month at the time. Obviously her prices are much more expensive now, but at the time that was 30% of my income. But I was like, you know what, it's a big investment, but I know it's going to pay off. And so but then I lost half of my clients. So I went from making $10,000 a month to $5,000 a month. And I had to pay my rent, had to do all these different things, and make a $3K payment. And I was like, well, shit. And I have this memory of texting her or DMing her on Instagram, and I was like, this just happened. I don't know what to do. I feel like I need to end the contract. And she was like, well, you signed a contract, so you need to figure out what you're going to do, because we're going to do this. And she was like, this is only temporary. Like, this is not forever. And I was like, oh, you're right. Okay. So I literally borrowed money. In order to do that, and took out a loan, borrowed money, made the investment. And I was like, I know I will make this back. I know I will. But I made an investment when it didn't make sense. It did not seem smart at the time, right? I drove Postmates, Uber Eats. I did, what was the other one? Like Instacart. I did all of that, right? So I could make more money so that I could afford that investment, and pay it off. And hold on. And I genuinely knew, I was like, listen, like, if in my brain, I was like, this doesn't make sense for me to do right now. But if I don't do this, there is no way that I'm going to be able to grow or scale. I don't know how I'm going to get more clients now that I've lost half of them. Like, I need help. And so I clung to that investment as like my life raft, right? I was like, I'm going to milk this for all it's worth. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to invest, I'm going to implement, I'm going to be the person, I'm going to be the squeaky wheel. I'm going to constantly be asking questions, all this different stuff so that I can grow. And that's exactly what happened. But what I learned from that experience, and I've taken this lesson with me for pretty much the totality of being a business owner, it's still applicable to this day. And it's something that I think is crucial in scaling past 10K months, is that, in my opinion, investing in your business is necessary in order to scale. I've been very open about the fact that I've basically paid for us to scale as quickly as I have, and as quickly as our company has, not just with our team, but strategic insight and like action plans. I've literally, in the entirety of the last 4 years, I added it up the other day and I was like, holy shit, there's no way I invested that much. I've invested over $300,000 into my own personal business coaching and consulting since I started this business. $300,000 in 4 years. Like, think about what you pay for college, right? Like, that's insane. Times that by 4, and or 3 or whatever. And that's what I've paid for business coaching. Now, that does not include how much we've paid for team, contractors, any of those things. That's a whole other ballgame, right? Literally just $300,000 I have invested into my own personal, like, strategic advice, and mentorship, because I was able to pay for somebody who has created the results that I want to create to tell me, here's where you are, here's where you want to go, here's what's holding you back, and here's how to fix it. And then I can go and fix it. And in my opinion, that clarity and that action plan is what's gotten us to where we are now. So what I learned from making that first investment is, a lot of times it doesn't make sense, honestly. And I have seen client after client, peer after peer, make investments like that during times where it doesn't make sense, and it pay off big time. Now, does that mean that every investment that I've ever made has given me an insane ROI? No. I have invested probably, I think it was $30,000 out of those $300,000 of investments that I've made. I didn't see a single penny back from it. And I absolutely, completely still respect that business coach, and I think that she is a fantastic person. I just don't think it was what I needed at the time. So I basically, if you want to say, I quote unquote wasted $30,000, but I also learned what not to do, how to think about different things, how to process stuff, right? So does that mean that every single investment that you're going to make is going to be the thing that gives you a huge ROI? No, it's always going to be a risk, but you can make it an educated risk. What I always say is, like, if you've done your homework, if you've done your due diligence, if you've talked to past clients, if you know that they've created results for your industry, your business model, blah, 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 blah. Like, you've done your due diligence. It is an educated risk. There's still an element of a risk, but you're in a better boat than most people would be if they had done no homework. And on top of that, if you make the decision you're going to see an ROI from that investment, you will. Lesson number 1, or I would say like mindset shift number 1 that I have learned in scaling past 10K months, is that investing in your business, investing in scaling advice and strategies is necessary. And a lot of times it's not going to feel like it makes sense in the moment, but it will pay off big time if you choose for it to pay off. So another thing that I noticed with scaling past 10K months, and I kind of talked about this a little bit in the beginning of how easy it is to like fuck around on the internet and make $10,000 a month. But the reality is that I kind of did that, right? I talked a little bit about how I was able to get those 10 clients, and it really was, yes, I did a little bit of marketing. It was, oh my God, you guys, it was so basic. Like I wish that you could have seen my first few pieces of marketing. It was so embarrassing. Like I look back, I'm like, yikes, that's crazy. However, what I will say is that I got the majority of our clients through sales conversations, cold pitching, etc. And so what I recognized in trying to scale past 10K months was that that was not a sustainable strategy for me. I think I ended up having, I think I counted it up like 20 sales conversations in the beginning of my business to sign those 10 clients. So I had like a 50% conversion rate. So if I wanted to sign 10 more clients, that would mean I need to have 20 more conversations, reach out to 40 more people. You do the math, reverse engineer it. That's so much time to reach out to people, to warm them up, to have a sales conversation that I didn't have. Because at this time, remember, I was still doing everything in my business. I was serving our clients. I was marketing for myself, sales, sending out invoices, you name it. Like it was such a manual process. So what I realized is that if I didn't have a marketing strategy that would bring leads in for me, I was fucked, for lack of a better word, right? There wasn't a way for me to sign clients if I didn't have content that was doing that for me. So this is another mindset shift for you guys. If you ever want to break past that 10K sticking point, having a marketing strategy that drives predictable leads and creates effortless sales for you is really not an optional thing either. So you'll see a theme here. What is and is not optional scaling past 10K months. So before we get into really breaking past the 10K months and how to do that, what I want to talk about is essentially like why getting stuck at this point really happens and why it feels so impossible to break past it. So let's talk about why you guys a lot of times get stuck at 10K months and why it's so hard to break past it. Number one thing I see with clients, business owners alike, is you're trying to do it all. So when you're doing everything in your business, kind of like what I just talked about that I was doing, whether it be marketing, sales, client delivery, admin, ops, systems, processes, you name it, your time is maxed out. There's really truly like no room for growth at that point because you're doing everything. And so when you're like stretched that thin, it's really difficult to be like, oh yeah, let me think about how I can bring on $10,000 more worth of cash flow in the next month, because you're so worried about like what's happening in this moment in your business. There's a phrase that I like where it's like, you can't just work in your business, you have to work on your business. You have no time to work on your business. You have no time to be that CEO, to be like, here's the vision, here's where we want to go, here's how we're going to get there, because you're too busy being the implementer. That's where a lot of people really struggle to balance both, of being the person who holds the vision and the implementer at the beginning stages of their business until they can afford to hire on a team. Like I said, this is something that I dealt with a lot when I was in the very beginning stages of my business. And it really caused me to, I would say, like not be able to focus on like the creative ideation that really would propel my business forward, whether it be in marketing or sales or any of those things. Just as a little shout out, I do have an entire episode of marketing and sales delegation, a podcast episode that's dedicated just to that. So if you guys are thinking of like hiring on a team member, trying to figure out like when's the right time, any of those things, I would definitely listen to that episode because it's going to be really, really helpful for you. So the next reason why a lot of people get stuck at 10K months and really struggle to scale past that is because they don't have systems or offers that are scalable with their business. So kind of like what I was talking about, and now this one pertains to, I would say, actually both product and service-based businesses. So for example, I have a consulting client and she owns an Australian-based skincare brand and they're absolutely incredible, love their stuff. But here's what I would say about that. She, for a really long time, was hand packing all of her orders, hand filling all of their skincare bottles, labeling it. Like their production process was literally nothing. And so because of that, She was really struggling to get all of her marketing out consistently, sell in a super like sustainable way where she also had work-life balance. And so one of the first things that we did as soon as she started consulting was make sure that we ironed out her production process for her products and get that off of her plate so we could free up more time for her to do the things that would actually move the needle in her business, i.e. come up with new products they wanted to launch, which they're doing right now, come up with better marketing, better sales, blah, 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 right? But if we hadn't done that, she would not have been able to scale significantly. Now she's way, way past 10K months, but that's a mistake that I see people making even from the jump. Same thing with your service-based business. If you are doing like one-on-one work as a service-based business, whether it's personal training, whether it's marketing, whether it's, med spa, any of those things, whether you're in the hair industry, right? If you're just working with clients one-to-one, there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many clients you can take on with all of those hours in a day. So if you want to scale your revenue, but you don't have services that allow you to do that either without taking up more of your time or without taking on more clients, without taking more time, any of those things, it's going to be really difficult for you to make more money. That's the situation that I was in, right? The other thing that I also see is with your processes, whether it be operations, team, like I said, production, any of those things, if it doesn't take away your time, if it doesn't streamline your processes, you're going to continue doing things on a very manual level, which then takes up more of your time, which then makes it so that you can't focus on the things that are actually going to move the needle in your business. Okay, so here's another thing that I see a lot of people struggle with when it comes to scaling past 10K months, and that is the fear of change or the fear of letting go. So whether this is with outsourcing tasks, raising prices, investing in growth, anytime you tell someone, hey, I want you to do this differently, and it's going to create this outcome, but they don't actually know for sure if it's going to create that outcome, it's terrifying, right? For example, for me, it took me 4 years to not completely, 95% let go of our marketing and our sales. I used to be, it was crazy, you guys. I would do every sales conversation, every DM. I would be up until 1 a.m. And I remember one of my exes being like, are you going to go to bed? I'm like, no, I'm working. I'm making sales. What do you want from me? Like I'm making money. Thank you so much. But the problem with that is that there's only so many sales conversations I can have. There's only so many pieces of content that I can write while doing all the other things a CEO has to do. And I have this memory of my business coach being like, I think you're in a place where we can bring someone on who can take over your marketing, take over your sales and do it for you and be in full control of that, like be the director. And I was like, no, why would I do that? Because our sales keeps our business going. And like we need sales in order to scale, right? And it's a really scary concept, like putting that into the hands of somebody else because that's your baby. And now I can't imagine not doing it any other way. But if I had continued to just have such a strong grip and hold onto our marketing and onto our sales, I don't think we'd be where we are today because, again, I only have so much time. And what's also really cool is that shout out Carrie, she's just absolutely incredible. She's our marketing director, does all of our sales, teaches sales consulting in our accelerator program. Like she's just phenomenal. But like, she thinks of things where I'm like, couldn't have thought of that myself, honestly. Like, you know how when we joke about when you're around your boyfriend, you could just turn your brain off? When you're around Carrie, when I'm around Carrie and she's doing our marketing and our sales, I turn my brain off. I'm like, la, 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 this is our goal. Let me know what you need from me. You're good. It is the most freeing feeling, but it was also the most terrifying feeling going through that process. I talked a little bit today in my Instagram stories about a conversation that I had with my dog trainer because my dog Honey, who I just got at the beginning of this year, she's wonderful, but she got attacked by a few dogs earlier this year when she was on a leash. And so now she's a little bit leash reactive. And so I had to get a trainer to help her with that. And I talked about this on my stories, but I think it's such a great thing to talk about when we're talking about like the fear of change or letting go. And basically when I would see something that I knew would trigger her and make her react, I would just avoid it. So like if I saw another dog, I would cross the street. If I knew that there were certain houses where dogs would like come out and bark at us, I wouldn't walk down that street. If there was, anybody else walking on like a sidewalk or like a tractor or something, because there's a bunch of construction going on down my street. If I saw any of those things, I would just go the other way because I'm like, I don't want her to trigger her, And he basically said, by avoiding the things that are going to make her react, you're avoiding giving her an opportunity to grow. And he goes, obviously, you're not just going to let her react and like do whatever she was doing before. You're going to help her through it with the training that we're doing. But by avoiding those things that are going to trigger her, you're avoiding giving her that opportunity to grow and become more confident because she handled it differently. And I think the exact same goes for business owners. You're avoiding things that are scary or uncomfortable because they're scary and uncomfortable, but by avoiding those things, you're also avoiding the results that come because of that growth. So I think in that same vein, one of the biggest reasons that I see business owners really hit that 10K ceiling is because of an inconsistent funnel of interest or leads. Depends on if you have a product or a service-based business, obviously. But if you don't have a steady stream of potential clients or customers coming into your business, it can really truly feel like you are constantly hustling for that next sale. It's exhausting, it's unsustainable, it's scary. You feel like you're constantly anxious, like you're waking up every single morning being like, holy fuck, how am I going to create more money? And for a lot of business owners, when you're making like 10K months, that's your livelihood, right? You're like, how am I going to afford bills? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to pay my team member? Blah, 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 right? So here are the few things that I think creates an environment and a scenario where this happens, right? So we've talked about this a little bit before, but a lack of a really clear marketing strategy. I had basically mentioned that like when I was scaling past 10K months, I didn't really have a marketing strategy, which is ironic because obviously I give people marketing strategies, but a lot of service-based businesses can relate to this. You do really great things for your clients and then your business goes to the back burner. If you're a personal trainer, you train your clients and then you forget to train yourself. If you are in marketing, you market really well for your clients, you forget to market yourself. If you're a CPA, hopefully you don't forget to file your own taxes, but such is life, right? So a lot of business owners rely really randomly on like acts of marketing, which is like posting sporadically on social media, hoping a reel or a TikTok goes viral or waiting for referrals to come through. But in my opinion, if you don't have a clear, repeatable system to generate leads, you're really leaving your revenue up to chance. So the next thing that contributes to this is really no consistent visibility. And without visibility, you can't have consistent customers or consistent leads. If people don't know that you exist, they're not going to buy from you, right? So for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, they really get caught up in delivering for their existing clients or their customers or working, again, in their business, not on their business. And so they neglect their marketing entirely, which really leads to these feast or famine cycles of sales. A lot of times I'll see business owners where they're like, okay, I'm going to be super consistent this month. And they're really consistent. They get great visibility. Their marketing strategy is working and they make 30K a month. The next month, they're so overwhelmed with all of the clients or customers that they just got from that 30K month that they forget to post or forget to market, or they literally just don't have time. They look it on their to-do list and they're like, that's hilarious. I'm not doing that today. And I have customers, I have clients, so it's fine. I'll be fine. But then you don't make more clients and then your clients end their contract with you, or you don't have repeat customers, or you don't have referrals, and then you're freaking out again. And it just becomes this super vicious cycle, which can obviously create a really difficult scenario in scaling past those 10K months. Another mistake that I see people make is relying on one lead source. So whether this is Instagram, Facebook ads, referrals, depending on one singular place to get your customers or your clients from is a huge risk to your business. Do you think that there are companies like Coca-Cola or Sephora or any of those things, right? Where they're like, yeah, we're just going to get our customers from one place. Absolutely not. They probably have 20 different lead sources, like different categories. They probably have all these different platforms for digital marketing. They have affiliate marketing. They have referrals. They have, wholesale. They have blah, 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 right? They have all of these different ways that they're going to be generating sales. And so obviously none of us are at the level that Coca-Cola or Sephora are at, but there is a page we can take out of their book in that you cannot rely, especially on a glitchy ass platform like Instagram or TikTok, which may obviously get like taken away at some point. I don't actually think that's going to happen, but obviously word on the street. There's really only one place where you like quote unquote own your leads, and that's your email list, right? If people opt into giving you their email, you technically own that lead. But to be like, hey, yeah, I'm just going to rely on ads or Instagram or any of those platforms where you don't own those leads to get your customers and your clients from, and you're just relying on one platform, is terrifying to me as a person. So let's not do that anymore. But that does contribute, I would say, to difficulty scaling past 10K months. Another thing that happens is getting really unqualified leads. So even if leads are coming in, I see this all the time when people go viral. They're like, yeah, I got really, really great views and a bunch of followers, but they're not who I want them to be. They're not my ideal client or customer. And so without clarity around who you serve or, sell your product to, you really don't have a way to attract the right people, which means you waste time either having sales conversations or trying to nurture leads or website traffic and getting them to purchase when they're not even going to purchase in the first place because they're not your target audience. And that also makes it difficult to scale past 10K months because you're putting your effort in the wrong place. So beyond the practical things to scale past 10K months, you also need the mindset side of things, right? So there's an energy and a mindset shift, in my opinion, for really breaking past 10K months. There's a lot that we've kind of already talked about, but I want to chat through these really quickly. So number one is to really think like a CEO and not an employee. I kind of mentioned a little bit back in this episode of working in your business and not on your business, being the visionary, not the implementer. And this is a big mistake that I see a lot of business owners make. And it's really this mindset of like, well, I can just do it. Or, I have to do everything on my own so I don't incur a bunch of expenses. Instead of just really like doing the work yourself, what I want you to ask yourself is, what decisions can I make today that will drive my business forward long term? So in my opinion, it's not enough to just put in the hours week after week and just not think about it, right? As a business owner, you need to be thinking long-term. You need to be thinking like, is this something that I want to do long-term? For me, when I was working 14-hour days, I was like, fuck that. I can't do this. Last year, I was also working 14-hour days. And between last year and this year, we've made the same amount of money. We will make the same amount of money by the end of the year. And I've worked half the amount of time because I got to the point last year where I was like, I'm fed up. I can't do this. I cannot do this anymore. I am so burnt out. I am exhausted. My personal life is in shambles. Like I can't do this. My mental health, everything, right? So you need to think long-term and think, is this something that I can sustain? The reality is like, yes, you're going to have busy times. You're going to have slower times in business. And you're going to have to buckle down, focus, lock in, grind during certain periods of the year or your business. Again, we kind of talk about like that building phase versus that scale phase, but that shouldn't be constant if you have built your foundations properly. So you really need to think about and get into this mindset of like, as the CEO, what do you need to do to move the needle forward 1% today? I call these like your non-negotiables. And it's so funny because our clients will now tell me, they're like, when I don't want to do my non-negotiables for the day, that's all I hear in my head is you just being like, did you get your non-negotiables done for the day? And your non-negotiables are the things that will move the needle forward. So whether that's posting 3 TikToks a day or showing up and selling on your Instagram stories or checking in with your clients, you have to make sure that the things that will move the needle forward are the things that you're doing every single day. And if you are doing everything in your business, you're not going to have time to actually move the needle forward. And you have to ask yourself, if you can't be consistent in the little things like posting 3 TikToks a day or marketing and selling for your business consistently, how do you expect to be consistent when your business is 7, 8 figures a day? Because there's going to be times where you really don't want to do that. But guess what? You have to, because it's your business and you're the business owner. Okay, another mindset shift, get comfortable with risk. We talked about this a little bit, but investing in growth can feel scary. There's no reward without risk. So much here, obviously, that we could unpack more. But whether it's hiring a team member or, investing in a coach or launching a new offer, You really have to trust yourself to make that decision work for you. So I kind of talked a little bit about how you can minimize the risk of your investment, whether it's a team member, whether it's a coach, whether it's a new offer, but do your due diligence, do your homework, and then ask yourself, how can I lean into my discomfort every single day to build that muscle? I look for opportunities to be uncomfortable. I saw a post by Layla Hermosi today, and it was like, I think that the strength of a business can be evaluated by how comfortable you are with having uncomfortable conversations or being uncomfortable. And that really stuck with me because I was like, I look for opportunities to be uncomfortable at this point because I know what will happen because of them. Next mindset shift is focusing on impact, not on effort. In my opinion, the goal is not to work harder as a business owner. That is not why you started your business. It's actually quite the opposite, probably. You were like, oh, I don't want to work this hard. I want to work for myself. I want to set my own schedule. I want to make more money. I want to work smarter and not harder, right? And yet now you're working 24/7 instead of 9 to 5, but that's another story for another day. So I want you to ask yourself, how can I maximize the results that I'm seeing without increasing the hours that I put in? You're really, in my opinion, like you're asking for burnout. Take it from somebody who's done this. If you're working 14-hour days, day in, day out, year over year over year, you're asking for burnout. If you don't rest your body's going to get sick. Like there's so much that can happen because you have not structured your business properly. And because of that, I've learned the hard way that, I constantly am now asking myself at what cost. So like the theme for this year has been, this is our goal, but everything that we do to hit that goal, we need to ask ourselves at what cost. Last year, we exceeded our sales goals, but every single part of my life, personally, professionally, mentally, physically, relationally, everything was in shambles. And I was like, this isn't worth it for me. There's got to be another way. And so we're going to figure it out. So you need to ask yourself, can I do this for the next 5 years, 10 years? If not, you need to do something different. And kind of like with me in the very beginning of my business, if you don't know how to change things, if you don't know how to increase your time, if you don't know how to increase your revenue in a way that feels good and sustainable, you need to get somebody in your back pocket who can help you do that. And obviously, while all of these like mindset and strategy shifts are really uncomfortable to make, I genuinely think, like I said, it's a non-negotiable in terms of scaling past 10K months. And if you think that I'm only speaking to my experiences, I really quickly want to reference a few clients that we have and the results that they created because they were able to make these shifts in terms of getting past 10K months. So number one, I had a client who was in the mobile bartending space. When she first came to me, she was making $10,000 a month. And by the time that she was done working with us in her 6th month of working with us, she was on track to make $100,000 that month. Here's the thing, and here's the even cooler thing about this. Sorry, bouncing all over the place here. Her offer when she first started with us was $97. Like 4 months into working with us, she added in an offer, I think that was like $400, I'm pretty sure, but selling very low ticket, and she was making that kind of money, which is bonkers, you guys. And it's truly because she adjusted her mindset, she adjusted how she was doing things, sales processes, her marketing, everything. She was able to drive more visibility, more leads. And even because of that, she was like, I can't handle the amount of sales conversations that are happening. So we streamlined her sales process. We automated it more slightly, right? And so because we did all of those things, she was able to scale super effortlessly to that point and now has an incredibly sustainable business and does not work that much. All because she committed to changing her strategy, changing her mindset, and being okay with change and risk. Another client I have, I kind of already referenced her just a little bit, but she has her Australian skincare brand. She's a consulting client of mine. And when she first came to me, she was like, I have literally spent a down payment on a home on paid ads, and I cannot attribute one single sale to them, which is crazy. And they were making, I think that they were making like $15,000 a month, which is great, obviously. At the end of working with us, she's a consulting client of mine now. She started in our accelerator. They were making, for the last 4 months of working with us. So like for 2 months, they went from 15K, I believe it was, to 40K, then 80K. And then for those 4 months, she was making upwards of 120K per month in sales. And now they're making upwards of that in consulting. But the biggest thing for her was she had the audience, she had the visibility, but they weren't selling to their audience in the right way. And because they were getting so many leads after we fixed that, we had to streamline their sales process. Same thing with her production process for the actual skincare products. I mentioned that to you guys earlier. She now has a whole team of people helping her with sales. But again, she was committed to implementing. She was committed to being okay with change. There was so much that she actually shifted in her business with our help that now she's creating those results. I need you to know what is possible for you. Myself, our clients, so many other business owners are literal living proof of the fact that you can scale past 10K months, but there's a lot that you're going to need to get comfortable with very quickly in order to do that. So please understand that the dreams that you have when you started your business are 100% possible, but you have to ask yourself, where are you holding yourself back? Whether it be in your lack of knowledge or time or flexibility, ability to change, any of those things. You need to ask yourself, where are you keeping yourself stuck? And if you don't know how to solve that problem or get unstuck, you need to get somebody in your corner, whether that's me, whether that's somebody else, I don't care. But I need you to get somebody in your back pocket who can help you scale, or else you're going to stay stuck in the same place. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. I know you guys really enjoy when I kind of break down like the mindset side, the strategy side. If you guys have any questions about scaling past 10K months, you are welcome to Instagram, DM me, comment anything on TikTok questions, and I will always answer them. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye guys.